all survived. This person seems like the kind of guy who's not going to make my life miserable. I have a wonderful child. My life is going well. Yes, I crashed the plane, but it's only that one thing, pervasiveness. The second scale, which I'll call the second P, has to do with personalization, your role in the experience. I could crash the plane and either say, it's because I'm terrible at everything I do. I can't fly a plane. I'm lousy at everything. Or I can say, now what are the factors that brought about this crash? The NTSB report that you can see on the internet now says that there were unpredictable winds and that there was a contributing factor, was an uneven runway surface at the advance of the threshold. There are lots of reasons this happened. Certainly I had a role. It's not a matter of dodging responsibility. It's where are you on that scale? Is it everything because of me, I'm a bad person, or is it because there were external factors that contributed to it? And the third scale has to do not with time, not with person, but instead with permanence. How long is this going to be around? Is this condition, I crashed the plane, I do everything wrong. Things always go wrong for me. I'm a loser in every area of my life, and I've always been a loser, and it's because I'm a rotten person. Or it can be unstable and say, well, things usually go right for me. This one instance didn't work out quite right. Now, here's what cognitive restructuring is about. It's helping people move from one end of the scale to the other, so that if we deal with people who are in a situation where things go well, the losers, pessimists, and the optimists have completely different ways of describing what happened. For example, the optimists, when things go well, say they are at the global end of pervasiveness. Not only did I win the sales contest, but I've got a great personal relationship, I have kids, I'm in good health, I'm doing well financially, life is rosy. They say, because I planned well and worked hard, that's why I won the sales contest. This is no lucky fluke, I brought this about. And things are going to continue to do well. I'll always do well in my life. On the other hand, next door, when things go well, the pessimist says the opposite end of the scale. Oh yeah, this one thing went right. Yeah, I won the sales contest, but the rest of my life is a mess. And it's certainly not because I was a good salesperson. It was because the really good salesperson was sick that month, or something, my territory was changed. It's not me, something outside brought this about. And I'm sure this won't continue. But what about when things go poorly? When negative things happen, we and the losers have a completely different language pattern. When things go poorly, optimists say, well, it's just that one thing. In other words, they localize it. They identify, yeah, I crashed the plane. However, I'm in good health. I have a wonderful relationship with my child. Financially, I'm doing fine. I have good friends. Yeah, one thing went wrong. Not everything. One thing went wrong. And there were circumstances that brought this about. Yes, I had a role, and I can change the way I play the hand I'm dealt, but there are other factors to consider. It's not because I'm a rotten person, and I'm sure things won't stay like this forever. The optimist says, yeah, once in a while things don't go the way you want. On the other hand, in the other auditorium where the pessimists are, they have a completely different way of viewing things. When things go poorly, the pessimist says, oh, everything's bad in my life. Not just this one thing. Sure, I lost the sales contest, and my health is declining, and my friends don't like me, and everything is wrong. And it's because I'm no good. It's internal. And it's gonna always be this way. Cognitive restructuring is about changing where you are on the scale. It's about consciously saying, as a doctor to a patient would say, now hold it, what you just said, you said you lost the sales contest because you are not a good salesperson. Are there some other factors here? Well, yeah, territories were realigned. Yeah, well, there is a tough economic environment right now. Well, yeah. So, in other words, the cognitive restructuring approach to people who are depressed is to say, let's shift your language to the other end of the scale. And in fact, with a very high reliability, Dr. Seligman, or anybody who studies this field, could listen in on you talking through the day to friends and to yourself and put you on the scale of optimist or pessimist, and you can change it. You can move. In fact, what I'm sharing with you tonight, these verbal strategies for improving the image you project to others, your ability to get cooperation from them, and the ability to motivate yourself, is all something that you can do. Now, I said there are 9 trait areas, and for each of them, we're looking at some examples. I certainly don't expect that this evening you go, oh, well, I heard some stories, and I'm going to quit saying I'll have to, and I'll always say I'll be glad to. How about problem? Instead of saying problem, gee, that makes me want to back away from things. If I run into a customer's challenging situation, I feel better than if I run into a customer's problem situation. Problems I go away from, challenges I move toward. Oh, I could change that. Instead of saying, I can't get you the report till Friday, I could say, I can get you the report on Friday. You could make lots of individual changes. But there's a big difference between simple and easy. It's not easy to change lifelong habits, obviously. Hey, don't make this mistake. Don't make the mistake of sitting in your chair and seeing me up here saying, oh, Mr. Author guy, he's learned these 50 things. No, I work on this every day. Last night, my flight arrived here just past 10 o'clock. I had my Yahoo map directly to the address on Franklin, where the Embassy Suites is, over in Franklin here. And just about 7 or 8 minutes after 12, I was at a mobile station with very thick bulletproof glass near Franklin in downtown Detroit, wondering why were all these young children out after midnight. And I was completely lost, and I handed my little map to the lady under the, the little place you slip the money through, and I asked, Embassy Suites, where's Franklin? It's got to be close here. I followed the directions. She's, Embassy Suites? And she looked completely baffled, never heard of Embassy Suites. I immediately thought, oh, God, she's obviously never been anywhere. She's stupid. I didn't think, maybe I'm in the wrong place. And then a rather disheveled woman who you wouldn't pick out walking down the street, there's a smart, capable person, I'll ask her. But she saw me with this map, and she took the map and started saying, oh, okay, now, oh, you know what you'd have, let me see, how would you get to Franklin here? And I'm thinking, okay, just humor her, she doesn't know. And then this really big, mean-looking guy comes over, takes one look and says, that's in Southfield. And she says, so what, do you work for the post office? And he said, yes, I work for the post office. It's in Southfield. And that woman got out her pencil and made me a little map that got me directly to Embassy Suites last night and basically saved my ass. So I found myself driving over here thinking, if only I had checked the zip code. I go, oh no, wait a minute. If only I had, no. Starting now, I will. Whenever I'm flying into a city that I've not been to recently, I'll check the zip code. And I also thought, at the rental counter at the airport, I showed the map to the dollar rental guy. I said, does this make sense to you? He looked it over. Yep, that looks good to me. I thought, how could he have let me go the wrong way? I thought, hold it. It is not his responsibility. It's my responsibility. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, don't think that because I wrote the book and I give the speech that I've got this down. I work on it every day. Being a power talker does not mean, okay, there are 50 things, don't say that instead. I've mastered them, now I'm a power talker. No. It means that you decide every day to pay careful attention to the impact that your words have on others, on the image you project to them, on the level of cooperation you get from them, and on how they will affect you. Power talkers decide to take charge and to use their language, their daily interactions with others, to create the most positive outcomes they can. Being here tonight is a wonderful step in that direction. And it's a long time journey. It's simple changes, it's not easy changes. Also, during the break, several people said, oh, gee, do you still fly? And it's kind of an interesting situation. First of all, I didn't tell you the whole story about that crash. because there were actually 4 passengers on board. My 6-year-old daughter was on board. One of the things I learned in that experience, when Pete got out with Jean, I, of course, grabbed my daughter from the back and pulled her from the plane, and we ran away. I was very interested in sort of watching myself outside my body, looking at how I handled it, and it was amazing to me that I didn't feel my heart was racing, I didn't feel in any panic, I felt absolutely calm and cool. I thought, this is odd. The one sensation I noticed physically is that I had an unquenchable thirst. My mouth was so dry. And people came out from along the airstrip and gave me gallons of water. No matter how much I drank, I was still thirsty, my mouth was still dry. Yet, I didn't panic. I didn't in any way fall apart until I put my daughter to bed. When she was in bed, I knelt down beside her bed and I cried all night long. And I guess partly it was that I wanted her to see her dad being strong in an emergency situation. I knew that for me to freak out was not going to make anything any better. But when I knew she was safe in her bed, man, I just cried all night. Another thing that came out of that experience is that at the time I was going through a divorce. My former wife, we had shared custody at the time, and naturally Mom freaked out. Her daughter, I don't think she minded that I almost died, but her daughter. And so I made a solemn promise that I would not take Kelsey in any small planes. Subsequently, my former wife decided to leave the country. And I had an opportunity at that time to either become a visiting, summer vacation dad or a full-time dad. And I paid attention to that voice inside me that said, the most important thing I will ever do in my life is raise this child. And I am so grateful. Thank you. You parents know why you're applauding, is because not only is the most important thing for the child, it's been the best thing that ever happened in my life is to be a full-time dad. Well, because I had made the promise to not take my daughter in any small planes, when I subsequently became her custodial parent, if I can't fly with my daughter, I ain't flying. You can't dabble at flying. You better do it all the time and keep it up. And so it was out of the question. So now I ride motorcycles. Gotta do something fun. And it's interesting how we get our lessons in life. Partway through the process of writing the book on which this evening's program is based and which some of you are getting at the table, partway through that process, I was not making any headway with my writing. And I'd love to tell you, that I had a big optimistic, outgoing spirit about all. I didn't. I was going like, oh, you're such a procrastinator. You haven't even started. The manuscript is due in 4.5 months. You haven't even begun. And I was kind of beating myself up. And I thought, I have clients calling. They want me to come give presentations. I can't get started. I got to get out. I got to do something. And I said to my wife, let's go to Hawaii. We'll get a condo. I'll take the laptop. We'll just go have 2 weeks of peace and tranquility. At that time, my daughter was 6 months old, little baby. I thought, perfect, I'll go and write. And my wife said, well, what do you plan to do? Just leave our daughter with a hotel babysitter or something? I go, oh, that's right. No, that wouldn't be good. My wife had 2 children from a former marriage, and they were being raised by their father. They lived in Canada. And I said, hey, I know what. Let's invite your 2 kids to come on the trip with us, because after all, they're teenagers now, and so they'll be able to help out caring for Kelsey. And I can get some work done. Oh, some of you have teenagers. Well, because I was not a full-time stepdad of these teens, I didn't really know about teenage behavior, so I said, oh, well, you're probably right. They may take a lot of attention, so I know what. Let's have each of them bring one of their teenage friends along. So the 4 teenagers, the baby, my wife, and I headed off to Hawaii for 2 weeks of peace and tranquility. I got nothing done. I had a terrible time. I mean, the whole time. Jesse would come up from the beach. He'd come to the front door of the condo. There was a little shower head down on the ground beside the front door to shower,